Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I know my table knows that. I'm just so pumped and as appreciative as I am to Dave Brunk and Diana Kling for bringing me here, and as honored as I am to speak at the Peach Belt Conference's Women in Athletics seminar. I'm just excited to be in this environment with so many women. So many with a passion for sports. I spend all my days around guys all the time. I told someone, this is the first time I've ever seen other people in the bathroom. There's always a lineup for the men's bathroom, and I'm the only one on my own. So I'm just really, really excited to be here. And I know that out of this room, there will be so many women who will be successful and have their own triumphs, and I'm happy that I can be a part of this group. And I'm grateful and I'm honored to share a little bit of my story with you. And I hope that it can help you in some ways, and definitely I hope it doesn't turn you away from sports at all. I definitely haven't always been excited to share my story. There have been a number of times in the past where I've been super reluctant to the idea. I was always scared because I felt like the fastest way to be pushed out of this like man's world of sports is by asking for change, and for hoping that women can be seen for the value that they bring to the table. For me, I feel like it's taken years to be like a slight part of the inner circle, and it would be really quick to be pushed out of that. I was also scared because I'd never really admitted to the people closest to me that this dream job isn't always the fantasy world that people think it is and that they want it to be. I didn't want to ruin it for them, especially for people like my incredibly supportive mother, who I'm happy to have here with me because she gets to see all the complaining and crying and sad stuff, so she gets to be here for something good finally. And I didn't want to be seen as, the whiny little girl who can't hack it with the big boys, because you'll get that. And those are certainly all real feelings that I've had. I'm not sure I'm over them all, but the excitement of coming here and speaking to this group has helped me to push that aside. And I've been very, very fortunate to do a lot of fantastic things in a relatively short time, and I look forward to doing even more. But I told my table, when I went to school, I was always planning on going to law school and being a lawyer. I wasn't a huge fan of the school part of school, though, so when I graduated, I looked for a shorter graduate program than law school, and I found my undergraduate degree is in criminology and sociology. I was definitely on track to go to law school, and then I found a graduate program in sports journalism that mostly appealed to me because one of our exams was at Rogers Center, the home of the Toronto Blue Jays. During that program, I got hired by the Blue Jays, who I'd grown up loving and watching, and I started working for them around my school hours. Since then, it's been 7 seasons. I've worked for the Blue Jays on the game day production crew as a statistician. I compile statistics, background information, historically relevant information, minor league reports, and anything that will help the production crew give added value to our show. I've been able to grow the job that I started, and obviously I went from paying to watch the team that I love to getting paid to watch every game. Also, I've even, through that, I got a chance to spend a day with our grounds crew. I'm a very curious person, so I wanted to know what that was like. I didn't do a very good job. I think they followed me around everywhere I went and redid the work that I did. And at one game, I sang the Canadian and American national anthems before they took the field. After my first season was done with the Blue Jays, I was still in school, and we needed to do an internship to complete our program. And I got to go to Baseball America magazine, and I moved to Durham, North Carolina, and that was when I really started to learn about how much I didn't know. I thought I knew the Blue Jays, I thought I knew their system, I thought I knew, all their minor league affiliates. I thought I knew maybe the American League or their division. And every single guy that I met there just kind of, I felt like they knew everything. They knew draft picks, every minor league affiliate, every team, every player, every year they were drafted, failed picks, successful picks, who was the scouting director in 1998 when they took Corey Patterson out of Georgia. They knew everything about everything, is at least my perception of it. So it was a little bit intimidating at first, definitely for me. But it sparked my interest in so many different things because they were so passionate about it. It got me into it. I became super interested in the high school and college game are much different here than they are in Canada. We don't have high school baseball. We don't have college baseball. So clearly different. But our systems are very different. So if you're really good at sports, you'll come on a scholarship to play in the States. I'm sure a lot of you, I know people at my table have Canadian teammates, so that's what you do. And I got interested in the minor leagues, the indie leagues, college baseball, high school baseball, everything. The draft was huge for me, and I just realized how much more there was to the game that I already loved. I was so disappointed when my internship ended, and they were like, okay, bye. So when I did get back, the first thing I got to do was Baseball America asked me to cover the Baseball Canada banquet. So it's a fundraiser for Canada's national team programs, and I wrote a piece on it for Baseball America. And Bob Elliott is a Hall of Fame writer and Canadian and the curator for the Canadian Baseball Network. And he read the piece and contacted the editor, and he said, "Who is this guy writing about Canadian baseball?" Which I still give him a hard time about, and he said it's because he didn't read my name right, but most of the time people will think you're a dude. So when he found out, he asked me to write for him, and I've been writing for Baseball America and Canadian Baseball Network ever since then. Bob showed me what I didn't know about Canadian baseball and what I was missing. I just keep learning all these things that I didn't know. I got very interested in the amateur side in Canada, where players come from and how they go through the system. I followed Canadians in the minor leagues, the major leagues, and I got to be a part of this really close, tight-knit community that is Canadian baseball, and obviously college baseball too. And I think that made such a difference for me. I mean, number one, I was included in that group of people. And everybody just kind of takes care of everybody and knows everybody. It's very special to be a part of. It's a different atmosphere and something I've embraced. And my interest in Canadian baseball led me to doing some national team coverage. And I sent my speech to a few of my friends beforehand. And my one friend, she said, "You keep saying this led you to this and this led you to this," but she's like, "You should make sure to tell people that, you know, there was a lot of networking and a lot of talking to different people in between that did lead. It wasn't just like I fell into it. I've worked pretty hard." So national team coverage is amazing, so special because it's a playoff type atmosphere every day. Every player is just so excited to be representing their country, and they're leaving everything out on the field all the time. Every game matters, and I've gotten to write about Canada's junior national team. I got to see the senior men's national team win a gold medal on home soil at the Pan Am Games in 2015, and I've also been really fortunate to cover the women's national team. I first covered the women's national team in 2012 when the World Cup, the Women's Baseball World Cup, was in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I did it long distance through phone calls or interviews I had conducted with local players before they left home. But in 2014, Baseball Canada had a scheduling conflict, and I was offered the opportunity to be the press officer for Team Canada and go to Vancouver and then to Japan. So I got to go to the Women's Baseball World Cup in Japan, and it was so fantastic. I got to see the game, the international game, at such a personal level, but it also introduced me to some of the hardships that female athletes at that level face firsthand. It was a little bit deflating, especially because I was so excited to be there. I was on cloud 9, and this was just like, I fell down from that. I don't think there's any way to overstate the disadvantages that women at the highest level of their sport have in comparison to men. Just to start, every single woman on that team had a full-time obligation outside of baseball. We had doctors, students, teachers, yoga instructors, logging engineers, multiple people doing their PhDs, and they were all using vacation time or falling behind at work or school to try to live their dream and win a gold medal at the World Cup. They didn't have the sponsorships the men's teams had, the money, the coverage, the interest, or the support. They were super ecstatic just to have me there. And I was just one person, and I was with them. Most people that I've talked to about my experience since then didn't even know that women's baseball existed. So it's not been easy. But they were all there to win, and they wanted to just take that passion that they shared and leave it all out on the field. They finished 4th in that tournament, which was less than ideal for them. And they make fun of me when I say that, it was one of the best experiences I've had, because they're like, that was terrible. But it was amazing to see them get to be on a bigger stage for the very first time at the Pan Am Games in Toronto in 2015, when women's baseball was included in a multi-sport event for the very first time. Every tournament they had ever been in was just women's baseball. So they got to be in an athletes' village, they got to be a part of something bigger, meet other athletes, talk to other athletes, which was not an experience they'd had before. And Team Canada finished with a silver medal. They lost to Team USA, which is the team that the men's team beat in the gold medal game. But after the games, they were signing autographs for little girls. They were asking to get their pictures taken. And there were young girls saying, I didn't know I could stay in baseball, because a lot get pushed into softball, obviously. And that was a huge victory. That was a big victory for them, and hopefully a sign of more to come. But women's baseball is definitely something I will continue to love and support forever. And it was after my second season with the Blue Jays that I first went to the Australian Baseball League. I've covered baseball down under for parts of 4 different seasons in our winter, which is their summer, and I'm from Canada, so winter's awful. The game there is pretty much the same. Of course, it has its own unique qualities and accent, and it's on a much smaller scale. But again, I was super fortunate to be a part of such a tight-knit community driven by passionate people. It is so much fun to be around that, and it can make you feel like you're a part of something even bigger than it really is. So I did a lot of different jobs in Australia. I was writing for the team, doing website stuff and social media, doing community events. I even did some stuff with the grounds crew at times. I sang some pregame anthems there. Like Morgan, I cleaned gum off of seats before. You name it, it's all part of the charm of being a part of a smaller organization. But I met wonderful people, friends I will have for life, and I got to cover the sport that I love across the world. And the last time I was in Australia, I was in Brisbane with the Bandits, and they won the championship, so it couldn't have ended better. And from the championship, I got to go to Sydney and cover the World Baseball Classic qualifier right after that, and Australia won that on home soil, so that was very special. And to say it's been fun would be an understatement. So since then, I've continued writing for Baseball America, Canadian Baseball Network. I also write for Prep Baseball Report Ontario, which covers the high school level in my province. I've also become the lead writer for the Canadian Premier Baseball League, which houses some of the elite travel ball teams in Ontario. And I should definitely say that I never thought I was going to be a writer. I didn't grow up with dreams to be a writer, and I only ended up doing it because I found it to be the most efficient way to stay around baseball. There are going to be a lot of times when you have to create your own opportunities, and there won't be any for you. And in between Blue Jays games in the summer and through all the winter months, all I've ever wanted to do is just be around baseball. And obviously this applies to other sports as well. None of them really are year-round. So writing allowed me to do that and gave me a chance to turn it into something more. So the piece that I wrote that brought me here, I wrote for the Hardball Times, and it was also on the Fangraphs website. And I've freelanced a little bit for the Hardball Times. I should do more for them. But It was a piece I wrote on being a woman in baseball, and I think all of this, I talk about just baseball, 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 but it transcends beyond that and just into sports generally. The piece that I wrote was actually something I never wanted anyone to see. I was just having a frustrating time thinking about the things I had done and where I was and where I wasn't, what I wanted to do, and what I hadn't yet accomplished. And I think maybe I was airing out my grievances a little too much to one of my friends, and they suggested that I put my thoughts to paper. So I spent a late night just kind of reflecting on all the things I had done along the way, and also what I felt like I hadn't yet accomplished. And it kind of all centered back to being a woman, which is super disappointing. But I had seen men in better positions with similar or lesser qualifications. I had seen men move past me. I had seen them get more chances, find more success, and occasionally it just gets disappointing. It can be very discouraging. So I wrote about it, and I sent it to a friend, and she kind of said, "This is pretty good. Maybe you should do something with what you wrote." And I was like, "No way. It's too personal. That's not really my style. I'm used to writing about other people and what they do. And it doesn't really seem like something I'd want to put out there because it kind of felt like I was doing a lot of complaining." And so often, you do really want to internalize your complaints and always be happy and positive, and you want everyone to know how great things are when they're great, and even when they're not. Because those people are the ones who support you. And my mom has been my #1 supporter my whole life, and there are so many reasons why I wouldn't want her to know some of the negative and disappointing things that I go through, because she knows how much it means to me, and I know how much my happiness means to her. So it's hard, but you're gonna have those thoughts, and it's nice to have people you can talk to about them. But it was around that time that an editor from the Hardball Times had first contacted me to ask if I wanted to write for the website. And of course I was interested, and he started asking me questions about myself and where I'd been and what I'd done and what kind of things I had faced and come across. And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna send him this. This details everywhere I've been, everything I've done, where I am, where I'm not, and it's very honestly me, negative or not. So I sent it to him and then immediately got nervous, and I was like, I should not have sent that. And I was even more nervous for his reaction. And his immediate reaction was, he got back to me and he said, "Can we publish this?" And then once again, anxiety. I thought about it for a little while. I sent it to a couple more friends, and I said, if this makes it out into the real world, what do you think is going to happen to me? And they published it. I said okay, and it got a huge reaction. It's probably the one piece I've written that has garnered the most attention and that I've received the most feedback for. Mostly positive feedback. I know they say never read the comments, but I always do. And there have been some negative outlooks, but it's been overwhelmingly positive feedback. And in January of last year, I found out that it was nominated to win a SABRE Award. So the Society of American Baseball Research decided that my piece was worthy enough to be a nominee. I'm pretty sure I cried when I got that email. I've definitely, weirdly, become a lot more emotional since I've been in sports. But I was just so excited. You do get used to a lot of disappointment, so when something's exciting, it is really exciting. And you should definitely celebrate all of the exciting moments. So I called my mom right away, and I was in Australia. I don't even know what time it was for her, but I wanted to share that with her. And then again, I got nervous. I was so nervous about not winning. I was nominated, and I was like, what if I don't win? Then everyone will know it was good, but just not good enough, which is how a lot of things feel when you're a woman in a man's world. I did win the award, which is amazing, and the other writers were amazing, and their pieces were fantastic, and I can't say enough about the group that I got to be a part of. And I got a plaque, which was really cool, and it was an amazing feeling just to be recognized. I got to go to Arizona and accept the award, and it was fantastic. I really thought I was doing a bunch of complaining in that piece, but I was being honest, and people really responded to that. And the piece was about how hard it is to be different, but especially when you don't know you're different. I grew up around boys. I played sports with boys. I spent a lot of my time hanging out with the guys, and it never really occurred to me that being a female would be a setback until I got deeper into the industry. I always thought I was the same as anyone else with the same experiences, the same background or education, but the truth is I'm not. I'll always be asked at sporting events or conferences or tournaments or showcases, who are you here with? Who did you come with? The one that really bothers me, and because you would never ask a man this question, is how did you get into baseball? And the answer for me is the same way you did, dummy. I picked up a ball and a stick. But the truth is we're not the same. But you'll hear a lot of questions that you'll never hear men get. And you don't start to think about them until you hear them over and over and over. So I've worked for 7 seasons for the Toronto Blue Jays, and the production crew has definitely added women over time, but it's still overwhelmingly male. When I started, it was just on a crew of 25 people. Myself and my boss were the only women. I've spent 4 seasons in Australia, which is definitely a pretty sexist place at times. And I'm pretty sure before I came, they'd never seen a female in a locker room before. I've gone back and forth to North Carolina to Baseball America for drafts and tournaments and showcases, and I am the only female to have interned at Baseball America in decades. I'm the only female to have ever written a top prospects list, and I would have been the only female to be a part of any prospect handbook last year, but the Blue Jay season ran into the Australian Baseball League season, so I didn't get a chance to. But it's obviously overwhelmingly male as well. I spent a lot of time in between Blue Jays games taking in minor league games and traveling all around to different minor league parks, and every club there has a different policy. They welcome women, but they treat you a little differently for sure than your male counterparts. I've been to Japan, I've been to Europe, I've been to Australia. I've seen baseball on 4 different continents. I've only been to 3 Canadian provinces, but I've seen baseball on 4 continents. And I was fortunate I got to spend my 30th birthday in November at Game 7 of the World Series between the Cubs and the Indians, which was probably the best day of my life. But one of the best experiences that I've had in the game was right before that, in October, when the Blue Jays sponsored me to go to Major League Baseball's Scout School. Scout School is pretty much what it sounds like it is. The Major League Scouting Bureau puts it on, and they teach you how to scout. And I kept thinking about it since then, and there are so many things I learned there, so many experiences and friends that I've met, and it was only a week long. It was in Arizona, but it keeps coming back to me to one thing. The biggest thing for me is that it was the very first and the only baseball environment that I had ever come into where no one thought I was someone's girlfriend. Nobody thought I was just there with someone else. Nobody thought I just came to check out the guys or I was there waiting for my boyfriend. Everybody had the understanding that you were there for your own purpose, which made sense in that setting because we were all sponsored by an organization to be there, so somebody had to send you there. But it was such a different feeling for me that it doesn't matter why it was. I've noticed it a lot more in retrospect, but I think that that's part of the reason, a big part of the reason why I loved it so much. There were, of course, some tough times. It was a bit of an emotional roller coaster ride for me. It was overwhelming at first. I didn't feel like I belonged there. I really thought the Blue Jays had made a wrong choice by sending me, and it wasn't going to be the place for me. There are so many new things to look at and figure out, and I felt like everyone else was seeing things that I wasn't, and it was going to be impossible for me. I really let the game speed up on me, and I focused way more on all the things I didn't know rather than relying on the things that I did. I felt totally alone and asking for help and admitting that I was struggling, and I did both of those things, I think, all the time. But in the end, that helped me a lot. I used absolutely every single minute I could, seeking answers, asking for assistance, and working as hard as I possibly could. One of the instructors got up at 5 every morning to get on the treadmill at the hotel, so I would get up at 5 every morning to get the treadmill next to him so I could start asking him more questions before the day even started. And he wasn't my instructor. I wore them all out. So I would stay and watch video after dinner, so if there was something that somebody else saw that I didn't see, so that I could watch it until I saw it. I would talk to more people after at the end of the day to try and get their ideas and try to get all the perspectives so that I could know the most. And at the time, I felt like I needed to catch up. So eventually, though, the game did slow down for me again, and it became the best experience. And it could not have been better in retrospect. I'm glad I struggled because it made me work harder. I could have done without some of the emotional breakdowns, and I'm sure my wonderful, wonderful roommate, the only other female at Scout School, could have done without those as well. But I put a lot of pressure on the situation, and I cared a whole lot about everything I was doing, and I don't think that was a mistake. Something we learned early on at Scout School was when you're scouting, you're always scouting. So you're always watching. If you're at a game and you're seeing kids walk off the bus onto the field, and you see, 10 kids who are 5'10", 155 pounds, and then, there's one monster who's like 6'3", 220. That might be the kid you want to focus in on, because he stands out. And you're always looking for what stands out. So for me, I was thinking, when we get off our Scout School bus and we're going to these games in Arizona, and we're walking off the bus, who stands out? Probably me. I do realize that, I'm never exactly going to fit in with the crowd. I'm definitely not going to blend in. But there can be a sense of belonging still. And of course, for me, every day at Scout School, you sat in the same seats, and I was sitting next to two big leaguers, and every day I'm just like, well, it must be nice to know everything. By the end, and even after we left and since then, some of the guys told me that they had felt the same way that I did. They just weren't about to admit it, and they didn't need to ask so many questions because they knew I would ask them and they would get the answers anyway. So it was nice that they eventually told me, but they probably could have saved me a panic attack or two if they would have said something a little sooner. And one of the guys said to me, well, it's a pride thing. And I was like, I'm proud. I can, what? And then I began to wonder, like, how proud am I? Like, sure, I was taking pride in every single thing I was doing and every piece of work I completed, and maybe pride just wasn't my thing, and part of it, I think, was because I always wanted more. And I don't think that's a bad thing, just like I don't think it's a bad thing to be emotional because I cared so much, just because passion is what will keep you around when nothing else will. But I definitely could be prouder of myself and of the women around me and of the things that I do, the things that they do, and the things that we do together. It really is so, so true that an accomplishment for one of us is an achievement for all of us. I know it's hard sometimes to not look at it like a competition, especially when you've grown up in an athletic, competitive environment. But we're not all fighting for the same spot, because the truth is there are no spots to be given to us. We have to take them, and there is room for as many of us as will fit. But being here for me today, this is so huge. I think it's super special that you guys are all here. You're all student athletes, and obviously you can pursue any career, but you're passionate about sports. And there's something in that passion that keeps you going, whether it gets you up early for practices or workouts, or it keeps you focused on your goals and maintaining your priorities in your life so that you can do that, or whether it means pursuing athletics further as a career beyond school. And if you do remain in the sports industry, that passion is what you will need to keep you going. It's what you'll find that you have in common with other people. It's what you'll find will help you both fit in and stand out. It's what will keep you driven, keep you curious. It will help you network and meet those other people. It will keep you motivated, especially at times when, and I said this in my Saber piece, passion isn't paying the bills. But there's nothing that can replace it, and there's nothing that can replace doing something you love and care about and are emotionally invested in doing. And I hope that nothing ever does replace it. That passion will make you better, and you will make the people around you better because of it. And I certainly want to know and hear when you do help make those people around you better. We should all want to see the successes of everyone else in this room. And I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn. My email is my last name, my first name @gmail.com. I hope you'll let me know when things are going well. And even when they're not. I'm here to congratulate, I'm here to commiserate, and hopefully to let you know that you'll always come out on the other side. There are going to be times when it's difficult and it's hard because you don't want to go to the people who are closest to you, the ones who support you the most, because you don't want to be talked out of doing what you love for something easier. And if they really knew how hard it can be sometimes, they definitely would do that because it might be the right thing for you. But if this is something you potentially want to pursue, I know you don't want to take it easy on yourself. You've heard the stories today, a lot of great answers. I loved the panel. It was so great. And you know that it's not always going to be easy, but that's what will make you better. You'll move forward, and you'll have another story that you can share when you're the one standing up here, hopefully in the coming years. And you'll want to share and overcome your fears of being pushed out because you know that this is a place where you can go all in. This is a place where you not only get to see yourself get better, but you get to see everyone else around you do the same. And I hope that you will support each other. And I'm just so grateful to have been able to be here. So I just want to thank you all.